Hello and welcome to this session of Business Research Methods. We are in Module 5 and this is the last lecture for Module 5. So we will be seeing what is hypothesis. So this is a repetition, but I am going through this because this is a very important aspect. The various steps in hypothesis. It's less like jogging your memory. So what is a hypothesis? It is a supposition. Okay, it explains what you expect out of the research, what you ideally want from the research. Okay, there is a gain in the weight after taking the energy powder. There is a difference in the marks after the training, like this. What is it that you expect from the research? It's a supposition. Okay, so it is should be stated very clearly, and there are templates, so you just follow those templates and it is very clearly given. Okay, at 95% confidence level, all those things, there is a template, you just have to follow it so that it becomes very clear and understandable. And it should be testable. What are the various tests based on whether it is a parametric and non-parametric data? We can do z-test, t-test, correlation, ANOVA, variety of tests to measure the hypothesis. And then it should contain an independent and a dependent variable. So these are what the hypothesis is all about. Okay, next one is what are the types of hypothesis. So if you look at the various types, you have a hypothesis of difference, hypothesis of association, and null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Okay, so we will see each one of these things. What is hypothesis of difference? Some examples we'll see. Hypothesis of association, null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis. As I mentioned, you all already know this, but we are just repeating these aspects. Okay, right. So the next thing is what is look at this thing. So is there a statistical significant difference between the mean of the two population? There is no difference. Okay, so the question, so if they reject the null hypothesis, accept. So this is the test. This is the, in other words, the steps in hypothesis testing. There is another elaborate thing. We will go through it. Okay. So this is what is difference and what is association. Okay. So relationship between two sets of variables are examined to see whether they are associated or correlated. So there is no manipulation. Okay, there is no manipulation. For what is manipulation is how the readings are, you are just correlating it. That's all. You are seeing if there is a correlation or not. Whereas if you see the difference, then you keep manipulating the dependent variable. Okay, for example, you want to see the relationship between the growth of a plant and the fertilizer use. So you will give 3 dosages of fertilizer and test it. So it is like a cause and effect. Okay, so the difference, deliberate manipulation of the variable to see the difference in behavior. Okay, so this is, you should understand this very clearly. Examples for this is, there is a correlation between the age and body mass index. There is a correlation between the month of the year and the rainfall. Okay, so these are just viewing the trends. Whereas if you want the hypothesis of difference, then you would have varying levels. Okay, there is a test difference and you have 3 different types of tests. to test the IQ. Okay, 3 different types of administering medicines and testing, 3 different levels of inputs, like that. So you are testing for each of the variable. So that is hypothesis of difference, how one works against the other. Right. So examples. Okay. A package of a tube light states that it will last for 500 hours. So you want to see whether the bulb that you are using, or you are taking 10 bulbs, you are put in an office about 10 or 20 bulbs, you want to see if they are all working for 500 hours. So what are you doing? You are testing the consumer advocate would know whether the mean of the tube light that they have got is equivalent to what they have told in the bulb, in the what is written on top of the package. Okay, this is one. So how will you test hypothesis? How will you frame hypothesis for this? There is a significant relation between the means of the bulb purchased and the one that is mentioned in the package. Okay, there is no significant difference between the means of the bulb purchased and what is claimed in the package. Okay, null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Next one, a drug to lower blood pressure advertises that it drops blood pressure by 20%. A doctor prescribes. So again, what will be the null hypothesis? There is no significant difference between consumption of drug and blood pressure level. What is the alternate hypothesis? Alternate hypothesis is there is a 20%. So this is directional, only one direction. It's not two-tailed test, it's only one-tailed test, because it says that there will be a drop in 20%. That means it is negative. It's okay, unidirectional hypothesis. Okay, example for that. Right. So the next one is developing alternate and null hypothesis. A new teaching method is developed, okay, and is believed to be better than the current teaching method. So how will you set up? The new teaching method is better. There is no significant difference between the current teaching method and the new teaching method. Like this, various exercises you can do and see to gain experience in setting up alternate and null hypothesis. And as you are reading it, you should understand whether it is unidirectional or it is the hypothesis is neutral, both the directions, or if the hypothesis is correlation, or if it is difference. You should be able to, when you are reading it, you should be able to understand it. Next aspect. So what is this? Statistical hypothesis. What is to some examples of null hypothesis? Okay, there is no association between gender and attendance pattern. Okay, there is no difference between the average age between male and female. Okay, so there is no difference between opinion between members of the group which is attending. So these are all some examples of null hypothesis. Again, another set of, this is for association. Okay, so more examples for hypothesis. Next, what are the steps in solving hypothesis? The question will for sure come. Okay, so first is state the first step you can divide it into two. First is state your null hypothesis, state your alternate hypothesis, give some examples. Okay, Specify the level of significance. What is the level of significance? Whether your answer will be 0.99% right, or because these are probabilities, right? There is no exact correct answer. What you can say is up to 99% my answer will be correct. Okay, like that. So what is your specify the level of significance. So whether it is 0.99%, 0.95%, these are the standard levels that they normally keep, 0.90%, like that. Okay. Next is decide the correlation sample distribution. As we had mentioned, there are many distribution, whether it's a normal distribution or whether it is that we had seen H distribution. So again, what is the difference between yesterday with the entire thing we were looking at this? What is the relationship between your distribution pattern and your data set? Okay. So when do you call, what are the data sets? Based on the distribution, based on your questions, correct? So we have the non-parametric, parametric, correct? So parametric, non-parametric, this is the thing. What is the distribution? It is based on that. So you have to say whether the distribution is normal distribution or whether it is not falling under the normal distribution, because based on this your test will change. Then what is the sample? How you have got the sample, appropriate value, and then calculate the probability of the sample. This is your p-value. So once you get your p-value, then you have to look at what the p-value means and then reject or select the hypothesis. Is the probability equal or smaller than the alpha value? In that case, if one-tailed or two-tailed test, then you reject or select. I think by now you all know this almost by heart, because in your statistics also you have done sums, and here also we have been repeating it so often. So by now you should know this almost by heart. Okay, those steps in hypothesis testing. Again I repeat, in business research you do not have to solve problems. You just have to know the theoretical aspects, application aspects, okay, when it is used, right? Those things you need to know, right? So next is critical region. What is the critical region? Is the set of values for the test statistics that would cause a rejection of the null hypothesis, right? So look at so you can have, this is the critical region, is a rejection region. This region you are going to test reject. So what does this mean? It is a, is it a one-tailed or a two-tailed test? It is a one-tailed test. Okay. For example, see the red region, it is a one-tailed test. If you just draw diagrams and explain, it will be so much more easier. You can just, so remember all these diagrams. Now again, critical region, now with both the sides. Okay, the critical region is the number of borderline separating the sample statistics that likely to occur from those of the unlikely to. So this is your critical. Normally for the subject we take this as the critical region. 95% of the population will fall over here. If it falls over here, then you will accept. Okay, then you are, your study is what do I say, a success. Your prediction is a success. This small region, critical region, this which you are anyway going to reject, it is, so the critical value is the thin line between the rejection and the acceptance here. If this is your line, anything that's falling here, reject. Falling this side, accept. Okay. So that is what we call as the critical value. What is degree of freedom? So degree of freedom is the number of the number of bits or free unconstrained data used in calculating sample statistics. So if your mean is x, you would have studied -1, n minus 1 is your freedom. Okay, now we will see an example for this. If you remember this example, then you can write what is degree of freedom. Look at this, because this is probability. Look at this example. There is you are throwing a dice. Okay, so the what you expect is 10 on 10, but first time it was 7, next time 11, 10, 7, 15, 12. So up to this level you can predict. This one is the fifth one, sixth one is based on this fifth one. That is your degree of freedom. Okay, so I can freely put the 5 values, here 5 values, but the 6th value depends on the 5th value. So that is why it is n minus 1 is the degree of freedom, probability. If you know that this has to be 12, right? Degree of freedom. Next. What is this? Is one-tailed test. Why? Because it is unidirectional. It is only one directional. So many examples, like the consumption of medicine decreases the fever. Okay, the consumption of food, certain nutrients increases the body weight. Attending classes increases the marks. Okay, increase in salary leads to higher motivation. All these are directional, unidirectional, directional hypothesis. Okay, there is a specific direction mentioned. Okay, because COVID, coronavirus resulted in a negative growth in the industry. Okay, so you are taking a test for the last, test hypothesis is there is a negative trend in economy because of virus. So it's a unidirectional, one direction. So one directional hypothesis is a hypothesis that is independent value causes an increase or a decrease in the dependent variable. So this is the diagram for one directional, two directional. So moment the thing comes, if you draw this, it means 80% of your knowledge is there. Then you have to just explain these things. So most of these things have given you all diagrams so that you can look at the diagram and start writing. Okay, your p-value, your all of those things. Again, some more examples. Based on unidirectional hypothesis example, the effect of training on the problems using PowerPoint. Okay, so the hypothesis is population, there is usability of PowerPoint, or what is your hypothesis? Training will decrease the number of problems with, so there is it is one directional. How will you make it neutral? Test will change the number of problems in, so you haven't changed means it can be positive or negative. So you can make it unidirectional or neutral, your two-tailed and one-tailed test. Again, so you remember this diagram. So this will clearly explain whether it is unidirectional positive or unidirectional negative, or it is neutral. There is no direction mentioned in the hypothesis. Standard error. Standard error is a measure to which a sample mean deviates from the true population. You remember the diagram, the bell-shaped curve, this is the one. So this is your mean. Is it going here or here? To what an extent it is going, that is your standard deviation, right? So the bell-shaped curve. So is it standard? It is a measure of extent to which the sample mean deviates from the true population mean. Okay, so again it helps to determine the confidence limits within which the actual parameters of population of interest extend. So if you remember that diagram with critical regions, so this is the answer. Okay, confidence and then thing. So if you understand this, then you will be able to correlate it with standard error. Right. So the next one is what is type 1 and type 2? This is a very interesting thing. In all the three, it's very easy, and in the last 3 years question paper, this question has come. What is type 1, type 2 error? Remember this diagram. Okay, truth about the null hypothesis. Okay, your null hypothesis is true. It is correct, but you have rejected it. It is a type 1 error. Your null hypothesis is false. Okay, but you have accepted it as right. Then it is a type 2 error. Correct? This is your hypothesis. This is your conclusion. What have you done? You have set a hypothesis. It is showing true and you are rejecting it. So it is type 1 error. Right? You have set an hypothesis. It is false, but though it is false, you have accepted it. That is a type 2 error. Now if you see examples, you will understand it nicely. Your decision is based on the test. Okay, what is this? You have a software. Software is defect free. There is no virus. The decision is correct. There is no virus. But you have, what happens? You have erroneously accepted a defective software, rejecting this. So type 2 error. Here what happens? It declares that the software is defective. But what you have done? You have accepted. Okay, so the decision is, so this is another example. Look at this. This is very thing. Again, it's the same type 1, type 2 error. So your hypothesis of pregnancy. Actually pregnant. Test is true. Okay? And false positive. Okay, so see, this is the, you have accepted. Right? So here the predicted not pregnant. Okay? And your result false negative. Okay? So true negative. You are clear about this? So this is your type 1, type 2. Actually pregnant. So what you should do? It should be positive, true positive. Correct? Actually not pregnant, but you have accepted it. Okay? So this is your standard type 1, type 2 error. Remember this. What is your null hypothesis is true, which is correct. Okay, but you have rejected. Your null hypothesis is actually false, but you have, it is right, but you have the type 2 error where you have accepted it. Right? So this is about type 1 and type 2 errors. So with this, your module 5 is complete. You have got one more module, and for this I will post the questions to the question bank. Okay, and then we have one more module. Now there are about 4 more weeks. Okay, 4 more weeks. So this is the time available for you, because it is online lessons. The syllabus is getting completed very early, so you have got a lot of time to revisit. I would suggest that on a next 4 weeks you can keep 1.5 module per week, and then you can study and review all the question bank that has been given to you. Okay, thank you very much, and we will move on to the 6th module. And it will take about 2 or 3 sessions. Thank you very much.